Now I've got your CV in front of me, Sanit, and you look like a pretty good experienced candidate. And I see that you got around total of 11 years in IT and a few years in DevOps. So why don't you start up with your profile and then we can go on with further questions.
Okay, so myself Sunny Shettigar. So I have been there in IT industries 11 years, from 11 years. So I have a very means different technologies with related to our support and development. Some part of. Then I just moved into automation testing, cellular means using those functional as well as automation. Then I have a minimal experience into DevOps, like I can say 3 years or close to 3 years. So currently, I'm just working into one of my means company, that is DXC Technology. So I have been the part of this, and I'm working into that one of the reputed client of this of banking into some abroad companies, and I have been there implementing those things into like means how we can use our concepts into this DevOps. So how we communicate is how we collaborate and how we do robust automation too. So that will that the means that all those implementation we need our means tools are like this. So I worked into Terraform tools, so it will configure all those our resources using any cloud providers like AWS and Azure. So I'm provisioning those things, and I use this reusable this template, ISA template. So based on as per our requirement, so based our requirement from our development and our solution architecture. So based on that, we are just provisioning our infrastructure with a usable component. So as per the, so I've implementing those things, and I've used this provisioning those resources using like AWS services like VPC, EC2 instance, and load balancers, Route 53, and all those, and for S3 buckets for versioning, all those things. And for CI continuous integration, we have used as Jenkins. Earlier I used it for Jenkins. So to integrate all those things, and to with Terraform, and also to perform that to build our application. So I have managed those 50 applications around. So we have application into Java based microservices. So we used to continue to out those things, and we have used apart from this, and we have integrated for security testing like SAST of static testing like into Sonar Cube. So we have integrate those things, and performing our scanning all those using this security tools like Trevi. For if once we will into continuous integration, we have to in our locals all we need to scan all those things, because we need to ensure that our security vulnerability means we need to ensure that less security vulnerabilities means I can say that less how we can secure, because ultimately this cloud service is a public only. So how we can secure based on our compliance and governance, we have follows those things with respect to their teams and all those. So once it's continuous integration tells, so whatever the changes is happening in GitHub repository, once the developer commits that code, so it will we have integrated those things into Jenkins, and what are the Jenkins pull that request, check out that code, and it will move to the next stage. So it is a static based testing like Sonar Cube. It will check all the security vulnerabilities, code qualities. Once it's the code qualities which meets, then based on that our based on that we are building our images, means we using that we communicated with means those things collaborate with developers, and using this Docker file to build these images based on the application. So we read the set of instructions, I can say that set of instruction into to build our image. Once the image has been done, those image will take and we will push um, into this if any registry like Docker Hub registry, or if you are using that ECR registry container registry. Before pushing that, once before we are scanning those container, because container it means to be lightweight, but we are exposing some things our security. So we are we are ensure then we are scanning those things, and also we are using some multi-stage build so to reduce our image size. So one of the in my scenario, in my case, I have found that because it's a container, it's a lightweight only first of all, but when we install means in that images lot of packages, any dependency also, so it will, that the size will go very huge. So we should ensure that we should make our any concept like multi-state bridging. So whatever in first stage we are taking all those binaries and files, and we are using those into final stage. So in that case we are just making our less, means if we are having assuming that 1 GB, so it will reduce to around 100 and or means 50 MBs also. So like this we can, so once it has been pushed to that into registry, container registry, then we have in deployment we have used as a Kubernetes in deployment consumption for as per that requirements. So what is as which services or any deployment spot, all this in that we have used all those things and to deploy those things. So one of the few of the deployments I have implemented those things. So in that case we have used wherever it is required. It's a strategic approach like blue green approach. Like blue, it refers to the our old versions and we need to move from the old to new version. So for new version it is referred to green, I can say the green deployment. In that it's a strategic approach, I can say that it is a normal deployment only. But in this but and basically it has been deployed. So once it has been deployed into the new version, so we have to perform in some sanity or smoke testing into that, and we need to integrate those things and to test those things. Once it is built, it is get successful, then we can route those traffic to the new version and we'll deploy this. So for deployment, this is a approach we have done for means pre-prod or any dev environment. For production we have used for Argo CD, because there would be a, means Argo CD it is used for a multiple clusters. So in production we have used the Argo CD concepts to deploy those things. So this overall, this is the I can say that this is the overall this in the day-to-day activities I am using. Apart from that, we are following all those security and compliance relative. So one of that critical applications, like if you want to store any API keys or any database credentials, so we use as a vault like a HashiCorp vault to inject all those secrets into our deployment concept like in Kubernetes. So this is one of the and we also ensure that into respect to that AMA rules, to restrict those to access into certain S3 means to S3 buckets, to ensuring our services, our applications to read or write. So we have to ensure that based on that we are performing all those things. And also I am ensuring that to prepare all those document means I have created myself all document like microservices, whatever the troubleshooting steps, architecture level. So in that Jira Confluence, we have used it. So all those we have maintained this thing. So if any new team members or any newcomers, so it will be very easy for them to train to get into this environment to feel comfortable. So we have to use those documents. So this is the overall activities I can say that to day-to-day life of DevOps. So I perform in this.
All right. Thank you, Samit. So that was a pretty long description. You also covered quite a few questions that I was about to ask in that, but that's all good. Now, tell me, so you mentioned a lot of different tools, lots of a few security related tools, how you do the deployments, blue-green deployments. You mentioned all of these. Now, tell me about the design for high availability. So, because you have been working on large clients, I'm pretty sure that they would be having some sort of high availability solutions. So,
Yes.
tell me about the design of the high availability solutions and what are the things that you would consider when building.
Okay. See, for thinking of the high availability, so first of all, from that perspective, the AWS services, I means based on the requirement, as per the requirement, as per the means from the client requirements, or we will suggest. So as per my understanding, all those scenarios, so I will use this Route 53, all this for two. To make it this domain name specific systems, and in that we will create our VPC, we will make our private secure, and into that we will use all VPC concept like internet gateway and route table. And to make this high available, so we will use our these things are load balancers, and it will target to our EC2 instance. In that, it will make is a high available. These are the services I will use for to make it high available. So in that, as per the requirement, it's not only the DevOps. It's a from it will be communicate from that architecture level also. So based on the requirements, we will suggest that high availability. We will use these things code. And so for scaling the things, we will use auto scaling. So auto scaling, the from once we will create a load balancer, we need to attach the code. So it depends upon that how that a particular application will take that load on that particular during any period times. So this will I will make any means use this in the architecture overall. I can say that.
Have you deployed any multi-region setups?
Yeah, multi-region setups. Basically, I can say this multi-region setup. I have not deployed it, but means I know the concept because I can make sure this is also it has come from the high availability, because it's like I can say that as a simple terms in the active and passive, like in one environment, one pre-prod environment, and I can say that one DR environment. In that scenarios, we can use these things. If any one availability is means it will down, so we can use those other required any availability zone like DR any things or any environment.
Okay. And what sort of disaster recovery and backups that you have created?
Disaster recovery backups. So all this we are taking using this. S3 buckets, S3 life cycles policy bucket. So we have used that for S3 so standard. It's based on that our this thing company standards based on that. So means from we have a other team also respect to this governance. So they will ensure. But we just approach over those things. So we can use our S3 bucket.
Okay, right. Now, tell me something about have you created any data processing pipelines for large scale data?
The data processing skills. So I have not created this database processing skills, but in this for processing wise, for a database connection of database, I have created using this DynamoDB for a connection perspective. But for a processing wise, means I can say that like we need a means as a serverless architectures. I can say that means any Lambda, so that and the event based trigger. So we need to integrate with the CloudWatch, SNS, and SQS, that is queues processing with data. So these are the concept means I can say that we can use those things, but as of now, I have not integrated those in a complex level.
Okay. Have you ever used Kinesis? Kinesis data store?
Kinesis, yeah, I have not used it. I heard about these things. Kinesis, we have
Okay.
this pause Kinesis.
All right. Now tell me something about microservices. So when you are scaling up your microservices, what are the different attributes in Kubernetes that you can use for scaling up? So if there's a
Scaling up.
high traffic, if there's a high traffic and dynamic environment where you do not know how your traffic is going to scale up, so there is an uncertainty around it. How would you design your Kubernetes cluster? How would you design all the services, the scale up and down? Can can you tell me something about that?
See, for scaling these clusters, I can say that if you are managing those from the means if you are using this EKS EKS, that is. So if you're using those, if you are managing through our master node, by the master node, it will be managed by the AWS services. Okay, so in that we can use that concept like serverless compute. Okay, in that Fargate we can use, so that the Fargate it will manage all those our worker nodes. Okay, so in that we can use our concept like deployment services on those stuff. So in that basis we can use that we can scale dynamically. It will whenever the peak traffic gets load, so it will be dynamically it will, and it whenever it is not, means it is get reduced, so it will automatically it will use. So we can use this concept of Fargate. So it's a service, it's also compute, but it's a serverless compute, but we cannot see this. For example, I can say the scenarios like if I want to day life, say if I want to book any order or something, any food delivery something, so I will just go to app and I just place my order and I've just log out from that and just so this is a scenarios I can say that it's based on that it is will create that instance and it will destroy that instance. Means once it is done auto gets created and it we can use it. So this is a real space scenarios I can say that.
Okay. Now, in terms of Kubernetes, can you tell me about the different services and the Kubernetes architecture?
Different services.
Yeah, so what are the different components in Kubernetes and the
Okay, different
architecture?
components. Okay, different components in Kubernetes that services of so we while we are creating this services dot YAML file, so we have a means means components like by default we have a cluster IP and node port and one is a load balancer. So okay, also one more it is there that is the external name, but by default it is coming that's cluster IP and node port. Okay, so whenever if we are within in this within our networks, we can by default we can use as a cluster IP, so they can talk, they can communicate with each others. And for a node port, I can say that so if we require from one cluster to other cluster to communicate, so we can use as a node port. But for a and also we can use as a load balancer, but it is a load balancer when comes when an external users want to access those applications. So in that we can use as a load balancer concept, so we can. But but uh, but if I can say from the cost optimization from the load balancers will if we having a in that particular region means around 500 applications at microservices, so load balancer will not useful because it will give as per the cost it will take very cost expensive. So we have to ensure that with from the cost point of view we have to make a very less this less because we have to ensure that less cost of it. So we can use as a concept of ingress controllers. It's a ingress class controls in that our service Kubernetes services. So in the ingress controls how it will works, it will once we will make our class ingress.yaml file. So in that we can call any services of cluster IP and load this load balancer. So it will create one ingress controller like application load balancer and controller. That means any users will access from our outside of internet, so they can route to the our load balancer and then they can access these things. So it's kind of ingress controller. They can use this. This is the architecture level of the services error components. I can say that.
Okay. So let's say if there's a situation where your Kubernetes cluster API server becomes unavailable,
Okay.
your API server is unavailable, how would you troubleshoot it?
See, first of all, this all this API servers, all this it was managed by that AWS Compo services. Okay, AWS. So if any things it will go down, means usually it should it. I don't think so. It will go down because it is managed by the AWS. All these master components. If you are using AWS, it will manage from the AWS. If you are using a GCP, it will manage from the GKE. So it's Azure. So it will handle by the Microsoft Azure. So I don't think so. It will this thing. Earlier, it has been having that something like mini keyboard daemon. I don't know, it's a single point of this thing. So this now it is all Marshall node is managed by this all this API or certification related all those things. If anything, if in case in certain scenarios if it has happened, so we need to we have a some SLA agreement with our AWS providers. So we can if anything's happened in such scenarios in very it will not happen, but in case it's happened, so we need to reach you them and we need to get them this your these things it is not it's not working as based on our SLA. So we need to communicate those things. But this will be happen from the as a senior senior team member. So we need to communicate over as a lead or architecture level, so that we can raise our ticket. We can means we can from our side we can troubleshoot, like we can analyze those things and we can raise these tickets, and we can escalate to the AWS providers. And based on that, we can take the call on that. Say how we can this thing
Can you
proceed
explain me
with.
the purpose of namespace in Kubernetes?
Purpose of namespace. Actually, namespace. See, whenever we are creating any pods, if you are not defining any namespace, so it will go by means in default namespace. So for namespace, why we are giving this? Uh, we are means in our clusters we are making a different I can say that namespace, so that we can means if we have a multiple I can say that application with different this modules, I can say that. So in that it is very useful to create our own namespace for any accounts module, for any loans or any payments module. We can create those namespace and we can deploy, and we can use those services or any deployments files into that namespace. So it will make our means while creating namespace we will understand that, because if any something that pods are leaking memory, so based on that namespace we can troubleshoot those things, and we can create our limits resource quota, means quota resource. So we can identify those things. That is the reasons we can use as a namespace, I can say that for this.
Okay. Now, one last question on Kubernetes. So you briefly touched on Kubernetes ingress, right? So can you tell me how does it differ from a load balancer service?
How is differ from load balancer service? Means I can say that this as per that means earlier I used to means just now I told this from the I know that from the cost point of views means Mingo, if you are using this application load balancer, that means we are consuming AWS services. Okay, so in Kubernetes we have those features like ingress class, so we can use for those features, and it will give means it will give very less amount of charges. So can so from the cost point of view, if I can tell, we can go for these things ingress, but but as a functionality means voice means how they work, there is no such a difference, only that cost optimization, I can say that. So that I know as per this, because in means earlier our company has to use this load application load balancers. So in that I came up to approach, so I have discussed with senior means lead architectures and this different development lead team product team. So we have came across this, so we have used this ingress to make our means cost optimization point of view, I can say. But the functionality wise, I don't think so there is much different. Maybe it would be, but I have not means that much detail into that. But as a ingress, we can, if you have this option, if you have these services, we can use those class. So why cannot we can use those approaches, and those ultimately if you want to be into cloud DevOps any role, so we need to we should not cannot compromise on our first our security, and we should also think about our cost optimization fine, I can
Okay.
say that there.
All right. Can you tell me about a major challenge that you encountered while doing in your projects? Something which you can really remember, something which was tricky.
Major challenges means in Kubernetes.
Not Kubernetes, just maybe a deployment of a pipeline, some major failures that might have happened, troubleshooting some complex issue. Anything that
Um,
you can remember from your
uh,
experience.
okay, not in Kubernetes, but in
Let's say a CI/CD pipeline that broke down unexpectedly. Did you encounter any sort of challenges like that?
for CI/CD point of view, any challenges means. Any challenges? Yeah, one of the challenges, I don't know whether it is challenges. So before I'm joining to this organization, so what they have used to do in the CI pipeline means in Jenkins, and they once they will check out the code. So once they will check out the code, and they are just means integrated with that Sonar queue to means to test those application with vulnerability, with having vulnerabilities, or scan those things into functionality or any so related to source code. After that, they are just building do means after installing all those integrated, I means testing all those into SonarQube, and they are they are the next step is they used to do all dependency, means they used to do all packages under dependency, and then they are directly going into to build a Docker image based on the applications which developers have developed. But but as per my means understanding, so before building our Docker images, means we need to secure over, because in our local we are just installing dependency, we means we are not sure about that with having a very less or any securities or something like. So we need to make ensure, in that case I can feel that we are not using on that time. So in that case I have scanned those things after this those in that case what happens means it has been means unexpectedly something like it is getting fail, means after installing, so that time used to do. So what I have approached those troubleshoot, so I have used those any scan processes like rscan or any dynamic statistics, so used to scan all those things, then we are building those images. So like this I can say that is one of the troubleshoots I have seen. And related to uh, one more, I'm not remembering that uh, uh, into Terraform, I guess, while configuring those things. Challenges like in that what's happen while means once we will create this using this template IC template to configure those things. So if I am enabling, if I am configuring these S3 buckets, I'm enabling this into that resource, particular resource of that versioning so accidentally, I mean, some from our team members, if we are deleted manually, so in that case, Terraform means that particular template configuration don't know means what exactly happened outside of that. In that case, we need to ensure others, we need to make this troubleshoot as a two options. We need to change our Terraform configuration as per the manual outside of what means out of the team members and so we need to ensure those things. I can say that that is a troubleshoot, one of the troubleshoot I've seen, because frequently it is getting changes. So we need to ensure that this or we have used our Terraform refresh, so they are sync with that, with our current and desire, all those things. So these are the troubleshoot I remember as of now this much.
Okay. All right. So let's assume a scenario where you are a technical lead of a brand new project which is to be implemented in AWS.
Okay.
And one of the key things that you're looking at is implementing DevSecOps in the project. So can
Okay.
you tell me about what are the different things that you would implement so that your project is secure, both in terms of your AWS also at an application level, at a level where the traffic is coming in. How would you ensure security in a greenfield project?
See, from the security point of view, so see, first of all, as a means as a DevSec engineers, as per the Dev or any engineering, so we cannot compromise on our security point of views. Okay, so we need to build our infra, means using this VPC and um, to VPC, and we are protecting our subnets using those NAC, NACL network access layer. And also our application like institution, in that institutions we have a lot of Microsoft applications, so we can protect those into using our security groups. Okay, that is security groups is based means it's per as per the means instant level. It will give a layer from the instant level, and NACL will give from the subnet level. So we can use those things. And apart from the this any credentials, I mean API tokens, so we can use our HashiCrop. Okay, we can use those things. And while we are creating into any CI/CD pipelines using any Jenkins or any GitHub Actions, so recently I've used for a GitHub Actions, so we can secure our this security credentials using that into GitHub Actions. We have that facilities to create our environment variables, all those stuffs. So in that we can make use of these things. This I can say that. So from the AWS perspectives, from the integration perspectives, we can secure over those things like this. So we have a lot of services like we have a Azure Ops Vault services. In every tools we have this in Ansibles. We have a very straightforward. If you're using those HashiCorp means this Ansible Vault, so we can use as a random any random secrets or into that, and we can create those things into this. So these are the overall. I can say that we can make our secure architectures into that. Into our while deploying our microservices applications in particular servers.
Okay. And one last question to you. What do you understand by SSL termination?
It is secure socket layer. I can say that means it is providing means AWS is providing that server side encryption. I can say that means server side encryption by default. So we can use those means concept for this securing or transmitting any data from one communicating to from one network to other network. We can use those things server layer. So means the certificates to secure our infra and these things.
Okay, all right. Cool. I think I'm done with my questions, Sanit. And yep, so I'll give you my feedback after the interview, but I think you
Yes.
did well.